Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Foxtail Digital coming to you again with Black Girl Stocks. And this is another segment of our top 3 option plays this week, where we're just gonna go over a few different trades, stock fundamentals, and different strategies that you can do to make it through, okay? But first, let's do a quick recap of last week's trades. Okay, so first we were looking at the calls on PLTR. You can pretty much already see what happened. This is Monday right here, and we had that huge move up to $18.35. If you actually got into that position, PLTR 18 call expiring February 16th. So we were looking at it when it was around 0.84. The highest that actually reached was 1.71. So that was around 103% increase on that position. So if you took some profits there, then that's awesome. Next, we were looking at XLE. Okay, so we were looking at calls, and when we were trading, it was around $80. And we had our entry around $80.18. We definitely reached that on Monday. We had a little bit of a pullback going into Tuesday, but pretty much the remainder of the week, XLE has been profitable. And when we were looking at it, it was around 1.25 for the premium. It's actually at 3.20 now. So from where we entered it, that's about a 184% increase. That's also a pretty decent position, and it looks like it's still profitable. So if anybody is still holding on to that, kudos to you. Okay, and lastly, we were looking at Charles Schwab puts. Okay, now this one seems like it's been consolidating for the most part this week. We've had some movement up, but it hasn't really done too much, and just kind of going with the overall trend that we have been in. Looking on this hourly chart, this kind of started to trend downwards around the top of the year. So it looks like it just hit this 200 period moving average and potentially retraced that, rebounded from that. So we'll see going into next week if this could still potentially be a decent position. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this on my watch list. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this week's trades. Okay, so first let's look at some signals from Lucid. Okay, so that right now it's trading around $2.65. Now normally I don't trade stocks that are less than $5, but we're going to give this one a look. Okay, so looking at Lucid, we can kind of see we've had a lot of bearish activity. It's been trading below the 50 period moving average and the 200 period moving average for a while. So overall, this has been in a pretty strong downtrend. Now, one thing to consider coming down here to the intermediate 4-hour chart, I'm using this oscillator, the stochastics indicator, and we can kind of see here a slight bearish cross here, but you know, it kind of looks like we're in the oversold zone. But you can kind of see here previously we've been in a pretty strong downtrend, and we've continuously stayed in this lower zone. So that's not really a deter for getting into puts. Okay, so if I was going to take a put position on Lucid, I'd probably have my entry set probably around $2.63. I know that's not much more than, you know, where we are right now, but just kind of seeing it cross below that point. One, that'll be around the support area from last week, and then 2, we would be breaking out below this Bollinger. So we'll see what happens going into next week with Lucid. For Lucid, 315.2. I'm going to be looking at the March 15th $2 puts. The delta is decent, 0.21. Theta is low, very high volume and open interest, 10,000 volume, 20,000 open interest. That's great. And the premium is going to be around $20 per contract, so 0.21. So it's actually not that bad for Lucid. So we'll just kind of see what happens going into next week. And next we have a potentially interesting position from the downtrend on Spirit Airlines right now, or SAV. So right now we're trading around $6.25. We've been in an extremely strong downtrend for a while with, you know, some pretty large dumps here around October and January of this year. So right now there's been a few different bearish signals. One interesting thing here is the volume. So see, the volume on Friday was around 48 million. The average volume over 3 months is usually around 15. So this is a huge increase as far as the traditional activity. So this could be an indication of more strong price swings. Another thing to note on the daily chart up here using the Bollinger Bands, we've been consistently below that lower band. And this could mean that we have a potential continuation in this downtrend. And we had a recent pull upwards. So I'm wondering if it's going to continue moving down towards that level, or are we going to start making our way back up? So this is something to look at going into next week. Going down here to the 4-hour chart, it looks like from this set of data, it looks like we've crossed below our high volume point of control. Okay, this white dotted line around $7. So I'm wondering if we continue to make a way back down to the LAL, lower area low, this somewhat support area. So it would be around 545. So if I was going to enter a bearish position on Spirit going into next week, I probably would have an entry around $5.80 for Spirit. For Spirit, let's look at 315 puts, and we're looking at the $5 put. It's around 90.91. We have extremely high volume, extremely high open interest. So that's a good sign. It's something to look into going into next week for Spirit. More drops. Okay, and lastly, we have a bullish position on GLD, and right now we're trading around $187.01. Oh, now looking at GLD on the daily chart, you can see we've been in a very strong uptrend for a while. Okay, and the stock has definitely been using the 50 period moving average. That's this white line. It looks like it's been using it, and the 200 period, that's the yellow. It's been using those as somewhat of a support. And we've just recently had that pretty strong pullback after we reached our high of around 193.18. So I'm wondering, are we going to continue in this upward trend? Okay, now this is extremely interesting. Even looking down here on the 4-hour chart, look at all this. Okay, this is where a lot of volume is, right here, right in this area. Around 70% of volume has happened around this 187 zone. Okay, so I'm wondering, once we break out of this zone, I'll probably say maybe around 189 would be cute. You can do, if you're a little bit less risky, if you're a little bit more risky, I could probably do 187.50. But honestly, that's very much so short term, but more on the long side, I would want to have a cross above this 189 before, making any decisions. But we'll just kind of see what's going on going into next week. I'm kind of liking the DI indicator as well. So we'll see. If I was going to enter a bullish position on GLD going into next week, I would have my entry around 187.30. What would be perfect is 187.70 for an entry. Let's see with GLD. I'm going to be looking at the March 15, and this is going to be the 190. Now, I know this one is a little bit up there, but it has an extremely high volume and open interest. Delta is around 0.4. So this is a good one. I'm not too turned off by the price, but what you could do is, if you're looking for a lower premium, you can get the 197 for a lower premium. That's something that we can do going into next week for GLD. All right, but that's pretty much it for this week. If you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, please make sure that you click that thumbs up button for me. It really helps the channel. Also subscribe and click that notification bell so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video for you guys. All right, and I'll see you on the next one.